You want to know about the day everything we thought we knew about the human species got tossed out the nearest airlock? Fine, but don't blame me when you start questioning every xenobiology textbook in the galaxy. My name is Crix9, and I run the most secure mental facility on Kepler Station, or rather I used to. Before one broken human made me realize that sometimes the most dangerous thing in the universe isn't a weapon. It's a mind that refuses to work the way it's supposed to. The transport ship docked at 1400 hours, standard galactic time. Nothing unusual about that. We got regular deliveries of, shall we say, difficult cases from across the known systems. Mental defectives, criminals with psychological disorders, the occasional species that had simply snapped under the pressure of first contact. My facility handled them all with cold efficiency. But when the cargo manifest listed one human male, severe cognitive dysfunction, complete neural mapping failure, I nearly choked on my morning nutrition paste. Glix, I called to my assistant. Are you seeing this correctly? Glix, 7 floated over, her translucent form shimmering with curiosity. The human designation reads Marcus Webb, sir. Age 28 standard years. Multiple failed psychiatric evaluations. The Terran authorities claim his neural patterns are, quote, completely incomprehensible, end quote. Now that was interesting. In 15 cycles of running this facility, I had never encountered a mind that our scanning technology couldn't map. Our neural analyzers could read the thoughts of a vegan mind slug while it was dreaming. They could predict the behavior patterns of a Regillian berserker 3 moves ahead. The idea that some primitive human brain could stump our equipment was frankly insulting. Bring him to examination room 7, I ordered. Let's see what passes for broken in the human brain. 20 minutes later, I got my first look at Marcus Webb, and honestly, I was disappointed. He wasn't the drooling, incoherent mess I'd expected. Average height for a human, maybe a bit on the thin side. Brown hair that looked like he'd been running his fingers through it, which he probably had considering the restraint marks on his wrists. But his eyes, there was something in his eyes that made my upper sensory stalks twitch. Hello there, Marcus said, looking directly at me, despite the fact that his escort hadn't bothered with introductions. Nice place you have got here. Very sterile. Very alien. The way he said alien made it sound like he was telling a joke that only he understood. Subject Webb, I began, consulting my datapad. You have been transferred to this facility for comprehensive psychological evaluation and containment. Do you understand why you are here? Marcus laughed. Actually laughed. Not the bitter, broken sound you'd expect from someone whose mind was supposedly shattered, but genuine amusement. Oh, I understand perfectly, he said. I'm here because your people can't figure out how my brain works. And that scares the hell out of you. We do not experience fear in the manner that humans do, I replied stiffly. We are simply conducting a scientific inquiry into your unusual neural patterns. Marcus settled back in his chair, completely relaxed despite being in an alien psychiatric facility, surrounded by species that could probably tear him apart without breaking a sweat. So, what's first? More brain scans? Psychological profiles? Maybe you will try that neural mapping thing again. I felt my tentacles stiffen. How did you know about the neural mapping attempts? Lucky guess. Marcus grinned, and for some reason that simple human expression made every alarm in my head start ringing. I decided to cut to the core of the matter. Our initial scans indicate severe damage to your neural pathways. Multiple personality disorders, dissociative episodes, possible schizophrenic breaks, yet you appear to be functioning normally. Explain this contradiction. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, and I thought maybe we were finally getting somewhere. Then he started talking, and I realized that quiet was probably better. You know what your problem is, he said, conversationally. You think broken means damaged. You think different means defective. But what if broken just means built differently? What if the reason you can't map my neural patterns isn't because they are damaged, but because they are working on a completely different operating system? Elaborate. Tell me something, Doc. When you scan a mind, what exactly are you looking for? I frowned. This was not how these interviews typically went. Subjects were supposed to answer questions, not ask them. We identify standard neural pathways, emotional triggers, memory formation patterns, logical processing sequences, standard according to whom? according to biological law, according to evolution, according to 14,000 years of neuroscience research across 47 different species. Marcus leaned forward. And what do you do when you encounter something that doesn't fit those patterns? We classify it as an aberration, a malfunction. Bingo. Marcus snapped his fingers. A sharp sound that made Glick-7 jump. That's your first mistake. You assume that because something doesn't work the way you expect it to, it must be broken. But what if it's just working better? I was getting irritated. Mr. Webb, your own species classified you as mentally unstable. Multiple human physicians diagnosed you with severe psychological disorders. Yeah, well, my own species thought the Earth was flat for a few thousand years too. Doesn't mean they were right. Before I could respond, Marcus did something that made every sensor in the room go haywire. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and when he opened them again, something had changed. Not physically. Physically, he looked exactly the same, but there was something different about the way he sat, the way he held his head, even the way he breathed. It was subtle but unmistakable. "Hello, Crix-9," he said, and his voice was different too. Still recognizably Marcus Webb, but with a different cadence, different inflection. "My name is David. I handle the technical stuff." I nearly fell off my perch. What just happened? Personality shift, Marcus, or David, or whoever he was now, said matter-of-factly. Marcus handles social interactions and general problem solving. I deal with complex technical analysis and pattern recognition. We are part of a larger collective consciousness that operates within this single brain. That's impossible. One brain cannot sustain multiple complete personality matrices, according to your research. But your research is based on the assumption that consciousness operates linearly, with one dominant personality controlling all cognitive functions. What if that's not the most efficient model? I felt my world beginning to tilt. You are claiming to be multiple individuals sharing one body. Not claiming, demonstrating. David smiled, and it was definitely a different smile than Marcus had worn. Would you like to meet the others? Others? There are 7 of us currently active. Marcus. Myself. Elena, who handles emotional processing and intuition. Tom, who manages memory storage and retrieval. Sarah, who specializes in creative problem solving. Mike, who deals with threat assessment and tactical planning. And Alex, who serves as our primary coordinator. I stared at him for a long moment. Then I activated the neural scanner and aimed it directly at his head. The readings were impossible. Instead of the chaotic, fragmented patterns I'd expected from a damaged mind, I was seeing something that looked almost like multiple distinct neural signatures operating simultaneously, but in perfect harmony. It was as if someone had managed to fit an entire council of advisors into a single brain. This cannot be real, I muttered. Want me to prove it? David asked. Give me a complex mathematical problem, something that would normally require a computer to solve. Against my better judgment, I found myself pulling up a quantum mechanics equation that our engineering department had been struggling with for weeks. I showed it to him. David glanced at it for exactly 3 seconds, then rattled off a solution that made my computational implant smoke, trying to verify it. The answer was correct. Not just correct, but elegant in a way that suggested insights our best minds had missed. How did you? Tom provided the foundational mathematical principles. Sarah approached it from a creative angle that revealed the underlying pattern. I ran the calculations, and Alex coordinated the whole process. All in parallel. All in real time. Try doing that with a single linear consciousness. I was beginning to understand why the human medical establishment had labeled Marcus Webb as broken. His mind didn't operate according to any known psychological model, but broken. This was the most sophisticated cognitive architecture I'd ever encountered. So when your doctors tried to scan you, I began, they saw multiple personality patterns and assumed it meant dissociative disorder. They couldn't conceive that what they were looking at might be intentional, functional, superior. But how is this possible? How did you develop this way? David's expression shifted again, becoming more contemplative. Trauma, originally. Standard multiple personality disorder. Just like the doctors said, but instead of fighting it, instead of trying to reintegrate into a single consciousness, we learned to work together. We specialized. We became a team operating within a single brain, the most efficient cognitive architecture possible. No communication delays, shared memory access, distributed processing power. We can think about 7 different problems simultaneously while maintaining perfect coordination. I found myself leaning forward despite myself. And your species considers this a disorder? Humans fear what they don't understand. Your species apparently does the same thing. David gestured around the room, hence the high-security mental facility. This is extraordinary. The implications for cognitive science, for our understanding of consciousness itself. I trailed off as a new thought occurred to me. Mr. Webb, David, whoever you are right now, why are you telling me this? Why reveal your capabilities? David's smile became something else entirely, something that made my survival instincts scream warnings. Because, he said quietly, we have been watching you, Crix-9. We have been studying your facility, your security protocols, your staff, your procedures, and we have found them inadequate. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. What do you mean? Marcus spent the transport trip charming information out of the guards. Elena read the emotional states of every staff member we passed, identifying their fears, their weaknesses, their pressure points. Tom memorized the layout of this entire station from the brief glimpses we caught during transport. Sarah's been working on 17 different escape scenarios. Mike's been analyzing your security measures and finding them laughably primitive. And Alex has been coordinating all of this into a comprehensive plan. I felt my breathing apparatus constrict. You are planning an escape. Planning? Oh, Crix-9. David's expression shifted one more time, and suddenly I was looking at someone else entirely. Someone with the cold, calculating eyes of a predator. Planning suggests future tense. I'm Alex, by the way. Nice to finally meet you. We are not planning an escape, Alex continued with terrifying calm. We have already escaped. The question is whether you are going to try to stop us, or whether you are going to let us walk out of here quietly. That's impossible. You are still in your chair. The room is sealed. The guards outside are unconscious, Alex said pleasantly. Elena convinced them to accept some drugged water about 10 minutes ago. Amazing what a little psychological manipulation can accomplish when you understand exactly which emotional buttons to push. I lunged for the alarm panel, but my hand passed right through it, a hologram. When had Tom hacked your security grid during our initial scan? Alex explained. Did you know your scanning equipment has wireless capability? Very convenient for someone who thinks in parallel processing. While you were busy being amazed by our mathematical abilities, we were rewriting your system. This is impossible. Our security protocols were designed by people who think in linear patterns, single-threaded consciousness, predictable behavior, limited multitasking capability. We are none of those things. I looked around wildly, trying to find something, anything, that might still be under my control. The room looked exactly the same, but nothing was real. Nothing was what it seemed. The interesting thing about your species, Alex continued conversationally, is how much you rely on your technology, scanners, computers, automated systems. Very impressive, very sophisticated, also very hackable, once you understand how to think faster than the programmers who built them. What do you want? Transport off this station, safe passage to neutral space, and a promise that you will reclassify Marcus Webb from dangerous mental patient to sovereign individual. I can't authorize. Yes, you can. You are the facility director. Your authorization carries significant weight. Elena's been reading your emotional patterns since we walked in here. We know you have the authority, and we know you are scared enough to use it. I was scared, terrified, actually, but not of Marcus Webb or his multiple personalities. I was terrified of what this meant for everything we thought we knew about consciousness, about intelligence, about the nature of mind itself. If you can do all of this, I said slowly, why are you giving me a choice? Why not just take what you want? Alex's expression softened slightly, and for a moment I caught a glimpse of Marcus underneath. Because we are not monsters, Crix-9. We are just different, and we'd rather make friends than enemies. But if I refuse, then Mike takes over, and things get unpleasant very quickly. Mike doesn't like being caged. I looked at Marcus Webb, sitting calmly in his chair while 7 different minds calculated my next move before I could even think it. Everything about this situation violated everything I understood about psychology, about security, about the basic laws of consciousness. And yet, here we were. The transport authorization, I said finally. What guarantee do I have that you won't cause problems once you are free? You have our word. Alex said simply. All 7 of us. The word of a multiple personality disorder patient. The word of the most sophisticated cognitive collective in known space, Alex corrected. We keep our promises, Crix 9. All of them. I stared at him for a long moment, then activated my authorization panel. If it was even real anymore. Transport to neutral space, I said. 1 human passenger. Diplomatic immunity status. Thank you. Alex stood up, and I realized that at some point during our conversation his restraints had simply disappeared. Oh, and Crix 9. You might want to update your xenobiology textbooks. They are embarrassingly out of date. As he walked toward the door that somehow opened for him, despite being sealed, I found my voice one last time. Webb, Marcus, Alex, whoever you are, why did you really do this? This whole elaborate demonstration. He paused at the threshold and looked back. For just a moment I saw all 7 of them looking at me simultaneously. It should have been impossible. It was impossible. But there they were. Because, they said in perfect unison, someone needed to prove that broken and inferior aren't the same thing. And sometimes, it takes a broken mind to break free from limited thinking. The door closed behind him, leaving me alone in a room full of malfunctioning equipment and the growing realization that everything I thought I knew about the universe had just walked out the door. I sat there for a long time staring at my hands and wondering what other broken minds were out there, waiting to show us just how wrong we really were. The worst part, I was starting to suspect Marcus Webb and his 7-person cognitive collective were just the beginning. 3 days after Marcus Webb walked out of my facility like he owned the place, my comfortable universe collapsed completely. It started with the emergency transmission from High Command. Admiral Crix Prime's image flickered to life on my communication array, all 4 of his eyes blazing with what I'd learned to recognize as barely controlled panic. Crix 9, he said without preamble, we have a problem. I should mention that Admiral Crix Prime doesn't acknowledge problem. He acknowledges tactical challenges, strategic complications, and occasionally minor inconveniences. When Crix Prime admits to having a problem, smart beings start looking for the nearest escape pod. Admiral, I replied carefully, if this is about the Webb incident. The Webb incident was just the beginning, Crix Prime interrupted. We have had reports from 17 different facilities across the sector. Similar cases, humans with supposedly broken minds doing impossible things. My stomach, or what passes for one in my species, dropped approximately 12 inches. How many exactly? 43 confirmed cases in the last 72 hours. And Crix 9? They are not just escaping. They are organized. Before I could ask what he meant by organizing, my facility's proximity alarm started screaming. Something was approaching Kepler Station. Something big. Admiral, I'm reading an unscheduled vessel on approach vector 7. I know, Crix Prime said grimly. That's why I'm calling. The ship is human registry, and according to our intelligence reports, it's carrying every single one of those escaped mental patients. The communication cut out, leaving me staring at a blank screen and wondering if it was too late to transfer to a nice, quiet administrative position somewhere safe, like the middle of a neutron star. My assistant Glick 7 drifted over, her form practically vibrating with anxiety. Sir, the approaching vessel is requesting permission to dock. They are claiming diplomatic immunity under the Terran Galactic Accord. Diplomatic immunity for escaped mental patients. Sir, they are also claiming to represent something called the Human Cognitive Collective. And so they specifically requested to speak with you. Of course they did. But 20 minutes later, I found myself in the station's main docking bay, surrounded by enough security personnel to invade a small moon, watching a sleek human transport ship settle onto the landing pad with disturbing precision. The airlock opened, and Marcus Webb stepped out first. But he wasn't alone. Behind him came a parade of humans, each one moving with the same unsettling confidence that had marked Marcus during our interview. Men and women of various ages, all with that same look in their eye, that look that said they were seeing things the rest of us couldn't even imagine. Hello again, Crix 9, Marcus said cheerfully. Thanks for the warm welcome. Very theatrical. I liked the overwhelming show of force. Really sets the mood. Mr. Webb, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady, I should inform you that you are currently in violation of 17 different galactic statutes. Actually, we are not. A woman stepped forward from the group. Mid-30s, Red hair, green eyes that seemed to be looking right through me. I'm Jessica Lynn, legal representative for the Human Cognitive Collective. We have filed proper diplomatic credentials with the Galactic Council. Everything we are doing here is completely legal. I blinked. The Galactic Council doesn't recognize the authority of mental patients. They do now, another human said, joining the conversation. This one was older, maybe 50, with graying hair and the kind of smile that made predators nervous. I'm Robert Kim, our ambassador to the Galactic Council. Turns out when you can think circles around their entire legal department, getting recognition is surprisingly easy. Impossible. The Council has strict protocols written by beings who think in linear patterns, Marcus interjected. You'd be amazed how many loopholes become visible when you can analyze legal documents from 7 different perspectives simultaneously. I felt that familiar sensation of reality sliding sideways. What do you want? To make you an offer, Jessica said. One that benefits everyone involved. I'm listening. We want to establish a formal relationship between our collective and the Galactic Alliance. A partnership based on mutual respect and shared resources. And in return, we solve problems, Robert said simply. The kind that have been stumping your best minds for decades. Before I could respond, one of my security guards stepped forward. Commander Relix 4, a Regalian warrior with enough combat experience to make a battlecruiser nervous. Director, he said quietly, we are receiving priority transmissions from all over the sector. Engineering problems, scientific puzzles, military tactical situations that have been deadlocked for months. They are all being solved. Simultaneously. What do you mean solved? The quantum resonance issue that's been plaguing our hyperspace engines. Fixed. The trade dispute between the Centauri Federation and the Vegan Commerce Guild. Resolved. The mathematical proof that Professor Glit9 has been working on for 30 years. Complete solution delivered this morning. I stared at the humans who were all smiling with that same unsettling confidence. How? I asked. Distributed processing, Marcus explained. We are not just 43 individuals, Crix9. We are a network, each of us with our own specialized cognitive collective, all linked together through quantum entangled neural implants. That's impossible. The technology doesn't exist. It does now, a new voice said. I turned to see a young woman, maybe 25, with short black hair and the kind of eyes that suggested she'd seen far too much for her age. I'm Angela Torres. I handle technological development for the collective. Angela here has 17 different personality matrices, Marcus said proudly. 3 of them are engineering specialists. 4 are theoretical physicists. 2 are computer programmers. And 1 is a poet who looks at problems from completely unconventional angles. The neural implant technology was actually pretty straightforward once we approached it from multiple angles simultaneously. Angela continued. Your people have been trying to force technology to adapt to linear thinking. We built technology that works with parallel process. I felt my world tilting again. You have created a hive mind. Not a hive mind, Jessica corrected. A collective. We maintain our individuality, our personal autonomy, but we can share resources, coordinate efforts, process information at speeds that individual consciousness simply can't match. And you are offering this to us? We are offering cooperation, Robert said. Your alliance has resources we need, raw materials, transportation, access to different sectors of space. We have cognitive capabilities you need, problem solving, innovation, strategic thinking. What's the catch? Marcus laughed. Always looking for the trick, aren't you? There's no catch. Crix9, just a simple trade arrangement. You provide resources and cooperation. We provide solutions. But why? I asked. Why reveal yourselves now? Why make this offer? The humans exchanged glances, and for a moment I caught something that looked almost like sadness in their expression. Because, Angela said quietly, we are not the only ones. I beg your pardon, the broken minds as you call them, Jessica explained. They are not random mutations. They are not accidents or disorders. They are evolution. Evolution. We are developing new forms of consciousness, new ways of thinking, new cognitive architectures. What you see as mental illness, we see as the next step in human development. And the problem is, Marcus added, not everyone sees it that way. Before I could ask what he meant, my communication array activated again. This time it wasn't Admiral Krex Prime's face that appeared on the screen. It was something I'd never seen before. A human face, but wrong somehow. The features were sharp, angular, with eyes that seemed to burn with their own light. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that made my sensory stalks ache. "Greetings, alien," it said, and every word dripped with contempt. "I am designation Prime Alpha 7. I speak for the true human ascension movement." The humans around me tensed visibly. Marcus stepped forward, his expression grim. "Hello, 7, he said, still trying to convince people that genocide is evolution. "Marcus Webb," Prime Alpha 7 replied. "The failed experiment. Still playing games with your pet aliens, I see." "What's happening here?" I demanded. "Civil war," Jessica said grimly. "The human race is splitting into factions. The collective believes in cooperation, in working with other species. The Ascension movement believes that enhanced humans should rule the galaxy, and they have advantages we don't," Angela added. "Military discipline, unified command structure, and absolutely no moral restraints." Prime Alpha 7's image smiled, and the expression was terrifying. "Indeed, we have evolved beyond such primitive concepts as ethics and cooperation. We have become pure intellect, unfettered by emotional weakness. You have become monsters," Marcus shot back. "We have become gods." Prime Alpha 7's attention shifted to me. "Alien creature, you have a choice. Surrender your technology and your resources to us willingly, and we may allow your species to survive as servants. Resist, and we will take what we need from your corpses." The transmission cut out, leaving the docking bay in stunned silence. "Well," I said finally, "that was unpleasant." "It's going to get worse," Robert said. "The Ascension movement has been recruiting. They are targeting humans with cognitive enhancements, promising them power and superiority. They have already taken control of 3 colony worlds. And they are coming here," Marcus added. "Our intelligence network detected their fleet movements 6 hours ago. 12 capital ships, full military escort. They will be here within 36 hours. I felt something that might have been panic trying to claw its way up my throat. 12 capital ships. We can't defend against that kind of force." "You can't," Jessica agreed. "But we can." "How?" "By doing what we do best," Angela said with a grin that was half excitement, half terror. "By thinking outside the box. The Ascension movement makes one critical error," Marcus explained. "They think that unified command structure makes them stronger. But unified thinking also makes them predictable. Whereas we," Robert continued, "are specifically designed to be unpredictable. You are talking about fighting a fleet of human warships with mental patience. We are talking about fighting linear thinkers with a distributed cognitive network," Jessica corrected. "And we have advantages they don't, such as 43 different tactical specialists, each thinking about the problem from a different angle," Marcus said. 12 different engineering teams working on countermeasures simultaneously. 7 different psychological profiles analyzing Prime Alpha 7's personality matrix for weaknesses. Plus, Angela added with a gleam in her eye, "we have had access to your station's computer systems for the last 3 days. We know every defensive capability, every weapon system, every tactical option available. You have been hacking our system. We have been improving them," she corrected. "Your defensive grid is now approximately 400% more effective than it was this Thurin." I stared at her. "How is that possible?" "Parallel processing," all 43 humans said simultaneously. The effect was distinctly unsettling. "The question," Marcus said, his expression becoming serious, "is whether you trust us enough to let us defend your station. Do I have a choice?" "There's always a choice," Jessica said. "You can surrender to the Ascension movement and hope they keep their word about letting your people survive as servants. You can try to evacuate the station and hope their ships don't catch you. Or you can let a bunch of broken minds show you what real cognitive evolution looks like." I looked around the docking bay at my security forces, at the humans who had just casually revealed that they'd been rewriting my station's systems for 3 days without anyone noticing. "What do you need from us?" "Complete access to all station systems," Angela said immediately. "Authorization to modify defensive protocols. And trust. 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 That we know what we are doing," Marcus said. "Trust that broken doesn't mean inferior. Trust that sometimes The best way to win is to think like no one expects you to think. I thought about everything that had happened since Marcus Webb first walked into my facility. The impossible escapes, the casual violations of known psychological principles, the complete redefinition of what consciousness could be. Fine, I said. But if this gets my station destroyed— It won't, Robert said confidently. We guarantee it. All 43 of you, all 412 of us, Jessica corrected with a smile that made my blood run cold. Did we forget to mention that each of our cognitive collectives has been growing since we connected to the network? I decided that some questions were better left unasked. 24 hours later, as 12 Ascension Movement warships dropped out of hyperspace and began their attack run on Kepler Station, I found myself standing in the command center watching the most beautiful tactical display I'd ever seen. The humans weren't fighting the ships, they were dancing with them. Every time the Ascension fleet moved, the station's defenses were already 3 steps ahead. Every time they tried a new tactic, countermeasures were already in place. It was like watching a chess match, where one side could see 30 moves into the future. How are you doing this? I asked Angela, who was standing at the tactical console with her eyes closed, somehow coordinating 17 different defensive systems simultaneously. 412 minds thinking about the same problem, she replied without opening her eyes. Prime Alpha 7 is brilliant, but he's still thinking linearly. He can only consider one strategy at a time. We are considering all of them. Every possible move, every potential counter-move, every tactical option available to both sides, Marcus explained from his position at another console, and we are running probability calculations on all of them simultaneously. On the main screen, the Ascension fleet was beginning to look frustrated. Their perfectly coordinated attack patterns were being systematically dismantled by defenses that seemed to anticipate their every move. Then Prime Alpha 7 tried something desperate. Incoming transmission, my communications officer announced. Prime Alpha 7's face appeared on the screen again, but this time he looked angry. Clever, Marcus Webb, he said. But ultimately, you may have enhanced your cognitive abilities, but you are still limited by your primitive emotional attachments. Observe. The tactical display lit up with new contacts. Not more ships. Escape pods. Those are civilian evacuation craft from the Titan colony. Prime Alpha 7 continued. 3,000 innocent humans, including many children. I'm going to destroy them, unless you surrender immediately. The command center fell silent. I could see the humans around me tensing, their confident expressions flickering. You have 30 seconds to respond, Prime Alpha 7. He's bluffing. One of my officers whispered. No, Marcus said quietly. He's not. The Ascension movement sees emotional attachment as weakness. They'd kill those civilians without hesitation. I watched the humans exchange glances, and for a terrifying moment I thought they were going to surrender. Then Angela smiled. Prime Alpha 7, she said. Activating the communication array, you make the same mistake everyone else makes. And what mistake is that? You assume that because we care about innocent lives we are willing to sacrifice ourselves to save them. Angela's smile became something predatory. But you forgot something important, which is, we are not just better at thinking than you are. We are better at everything. On the tactical display, something impossible happened. The civilian evacuation craft suddenly changed course, accelerating away from the Ascension fleet at speeds that should have been impossible for civilian vessels. What did you do? Prime Alpha 7 demanded. Remote override of their navigation systems, Angela replied cheerfully. We have been quietly upgrading civilian ship systems across the sector for months. Those evacuation craft now have military-grade engines and defensive shields. Impossible. Our scans showed exactly what we wanted you to see, Marcus interrupted. Holographic projectors, sensor spoofing, and a little creative programming. The civilians were never in danger, 7. We moved them to safety 6 hours ago. Prime Alpha 7's expression shifted from anger to something approaching respect. Impressive, but ultimately irrelevant. I still have 12 warships and you still have 1 space station. Actually, Jessica said, appearing on another communication channel, you have 11 warships. On the tactical display, one of the Ascension vessels suddenly went dark. What just happened? I asked. Computer virus. Angela explained. We have been uploading it to their systems since they arrived. It just needed time to propagate through their network. Their ships are protected by military-grade firewalls. Military-grade firewalls designed by linear thinkers. Marcus said, when you can think in parallel, breaking into sequential security systems is embarrassingly easy. Over the next 10 minutes I watched in fascination as the Ascension fleet systematically self-destructed. Not physically, but operationally. Weapons systems failed. Navigation went offline. Life support began cycling randomly. One by one the warships became floating metal boxes. This is impossible, Prime Alpha 7 snarled as his own ship's systems began failing around him. No, Marcus replied calmly. This is evolution. This is what happens when broken minds stop pretending to be inferior and start showing the universe what they are really capable of. You think you have won. This fleet is nothing. The Ascension movement has thousands of ships, millions of enhanced humans. We will return, and next time, Angela interrupted, you will be fighting 412 minds that have had time to prepare. Good luck with that. The transmission cut out as Prime Alpha 7's ship was tractored away by our automated systems. I stood in the command center, surrounded by the wreckage of everything I thought I knew about consciousness, intelligence, and the nature of mind itself. So, I said finally, what happens now? Now, Marcus said, we start building something new, a galaxy where different kinds of consciousness can work together instead of trying to destroy each other. And the Ascension movement will learn, eventually, Jessica said confidently. Or they won't. But either way they will discover that broken minds have a tendency to break things that need breaking. I looked around at the humans, all 43 of them, each one containing multiple personalities, each personality specialized for different tasks, all of them connected in a vast network of parallel processing power. You know, I said, I'm starting to think that maybe broken is just another word for evolved. Marcus grinned. Welcome to the revolution, Crix 9. Population, everyone who's tired of thinking inside the box. As I watched the first ships of the human cognitive collective begin arriving to establish their new embassy, I realized that the galaxy was about to become a very different place, and for the first time in my life I was looking forward to it. After all, when you have spent your career studying broken minds, discovering that they are actually superior is the kind of paradigm shift that makes existence interesting again. The universe, it turned out, was much stranger and more wonderful than any of us had imagined. The broken minds were just getting started.